Hello, everybody, and welcome to Wander to the Edge. My name is Adam Asher from the Edge of Adventure.
I'm Zan from Where Gals Wander.
Zan, it is great to see you. How was your Christmas?
It was good. It was really good. Our Christmases are pretty quiet. It's just the four of us in our Christmas pajamas all day. That's our family tradition. So, how was yours?
Really good, really good. As we've said before on our broadcasts, I mean, this is a unique year, a year that a lot's been taken from us. Things aren't exactly the same, but yeah, I think in many ways it causes us to sort of pause, reflect, and think back on what's important to us and to our families. And I think that's what we did this year. And so Christmas was good, and we're sort of in that the time after Christmas. Kind of nice this year that this is Saturday and it's the day after Christmas, so it forces sort of the weekend to extend and take in the
Yeah.
holiday in about a 4 day, at least for a lot of people. They can create a 4 day weekend out of it. So great to do that. And we've got New Year's just around the corner, and we've got a great guest for our first program in January. We've got that coming up, and
Yep.
we have a fantastic, very interesting guest joining us today.
And it's a unique situation because we're actually going to be speaking with her as she's actually traveling on the road. This will be our first interview coming right from an RV. So excited to talk with Angela today and hear all about her new adventures living on the road.
So I think this is super. This is Wander to the Edge. She's actively doing so day in and day out. So we're going to get to hear her story of travel. She is traveling now, as you say, and she's also got some very very interesting stories regarding her family history and some other things.
Yep.
So stay tuned. It is going to be another wonderful edition of.
Wander to the edge. Welcome.
Hi.
Angela, it is so great to see you. Thanks for joining us today. And you are located where right now?
I'm in San Antonio, Texas right now. So
Okay,
just
so
came
we
out of
need,
Marfa, Texas. Before that, Las Cruces and Phoenix. And Phoenix was our first stop when we sold our house in Vegas.
so first, I just want to thank you for joining us for
Thank you.
the very last episode of Wander to the Edge in 2020. So thanks for helping us be here to kind of wrap up this year and also just taking the time to join us from the road. So we want to dive into that. But let's start like okay, so at the beginning. So you're living in Las Vegas.
Right. Yes. I was living in Las Vegas since, let's see, I moved there in 2009 and had always had this dream since I was a little girl, since I was 7, of just being in an RV and being no schedule, no real plans, just kind of a general idea where I wanted to go next. But, if I wanted to stay somewhere longer, I could stay somewhere longer. And, it was always kind of a dream that was out there, but it never felt like it could be real because it's a big privilege really to be able to do this. But finally, my husband and I just about a year ago said, let's do it. Let's bite the bullet and do it. And then obviously the world changed a lot in March. And we kind of looked at each other and said, should we continue? And we just decided life is short and you never know. And we're going to continue on the plan that we're going to be able to do this as of March. And then come August, we felt comfortable enough to go ahead and list the house. It sold quickly and we hit the road.
Angela, on this program, we call it Wander to the Edge. One of the things we like to do is to talk to members of the travel tribe who have interesting stories and also interesting and substantial social media platforms. Okay, that's my fancy way of saying I've been aware of you and your platform for years now, and you're
Oh,
a
thank you.
vital part of the travel. We call it the travel tribe, right? And
Mhm.
and so I've I've known about you and your platform for years, and so getting the chance to know you today is super awesome. But before the RV trip, I guess this is where I'm going. My question before the decision to take this RV trip and to really travel, put your money where your mouth is.
Mhm.
What what was what was your objective before? How was your platform um, geared prior to, because I think now you have a perfect platform to share this adventure before that. But take us back in time if anyone didn't know you at that point. Tell us about your platform in general.
Well, we've traveled a lot uh, since the shooting in Vegas is actually what spearheaded a lot of our travel. Was we lost some friends, and then lost my dad right after that, and then just like a friend every month for 8 months after that. And so it was a real hit home to, if you want to do something, do it now. You're not guaranteed tomorrow, and you never know if you're going to get tomorrow. So just go for it. And so I think in the 2 years before COVID hit, we visited like 18 states and I think 8 countries. And so we traveled a lot before that. Prior to that timing, though, a lot of my platform was marketing related. I do marketing for several clients. I'm freelance for entertainment and travel industry. So prior to that, I've always kind of been involved in travel and entertainment marketing. So a lot of it is the same type of audience.
So, first, I'm so sorry to hear about just going through the ordeal that was the Las Vegas shooting. And
We
then,
weren't there. We weren't there. We just had friends
yeah,
who were.
yeah, that's hard. I mean, and then to go through COVID and still keep focused on your dream. That kudos to you. At first, I just want to acknowledge that because that's a really
Thank you.
hard thing to do, you know? And as you make that decision, like, yeah, we're going to go through with it, we're going to do it. I think there's a lot of people out there who still have that same dream. Like, that's my personal dream, to be honest with you. You are living my dream right now. I'm totally going vicariously through you. And I have this whole plan, which, maybe I'll share later. But um, so you put your house up on the market. Like, tell us what's going through your mind. What are some things that you guys had to consider and think about, to get this going?
Well, we did change it a little bit because we had originally planned to just hit the road until we were tired of being on the road and then go and rebuy kind of a home base. And we'd planned that on the Gulf Coast of Florida near a friend of mine that lives down there. Um, so we did change the plan because right now we're headed slowly to the Gulf Coast first to grab that home base in case things get crazy again. Because during the height of everything COVID, some of the RV parks did shut down, and so that was a little bit scary and a little bit of a hiccup for us. And is this really the right choice? Because you don't want to be without anywhere to go, or knocking on family members' doors or anything like that. So we're headed there slowly to buy a home base, and then we'll probably wait out a little bit as we renovate that home base and get it to the place we want to live. We'll probably pause for a second and wait out and see what happens. And then after that, we're planning to go from Florida up the East Coast and all the way to the tip of Alaska. So
Wow.
travel is different right now. We're having a great time. We're enjoying it. We're doing all outdoor stuff. We'll hike and we'll go find street art in the streets and things like that is kind of what our activities are. But that's very different than being able to go to the art museums and to being able to go into the old, well-known restaurants and things like that. So uh, it's different, but it's still great. But we don't want to take a giant trip all the way to Alaska during this time. So
Yeah.
we adjusted, but it was still a little scary as we listed the house and things like that. But you've got to go after your dreams when you have them. So
Absolutely. And Angela, tell us now too about your platform called Fitting in Adventure. which everybody can look that up at fittinginadventure.com. We've also got the social media, Instagram and things like that. I'm going to be putting up on the screen momentarily. But tell us about that. Fitting in Adventure is about what?
That's where we decided to document this entire process. And we've always kind of had the idea of, even when we lived in Vegas and when we weren't traveling, there's things to do in your backyard. And it's not taking that for granted and finding those activities that might be just in your backyard that you've always taken for granted before, but that other people travel to. And Vegas is a good example of this. Other people travel there all the time, but most of the locals never do the things that the visitors do because we take it for granted. But that's everywhere. Whether you live in Vegas or I grew up in Kansas and there were things there to do too, that everybody took for granted that lived there, but other people want to see when they come there. So it's kind of find those opportunities, whether it's near you or traveling across the globe. There's adventure to be found everywhere and something to do everywhere.
Just hearing you talk, it reminds me a lot of when we had Doug from Live a Memory on the show. And he had that same thing about finding things in your backyard. And another thing that reminds me of that is also, I've noticed on Twitter, as you are driving through San Antonio, like you're asking folks, like, what suggestions do you have and what should we check out and where should we go? I think that's just another example of this community and this platform kind of working together. And again, it's just so exciting to see this kind of unfold in real time and watch your adventure too.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I am blanking on your Twitter handle at my tip
Angela
of my tongue,
M. DiLoreto.
Thank you, Adam. So other folks can also join in and follow along too.
And they definitely need to. And yes, we have, make sure, Angela, you check me on this, but I think Instagram and Twitter is at Angela M. DiLoreto. Okay. And then also, I'm going to put this up on the screen here in a couple of minutes too, but we also have the Fitting in Adventure, which is fittinginadventure.com, but that's also the Instagram handle. And then on Twitter, it's been shortened to Fit in Adventure, right?
Correct.
Okay. So I'll put
It's
all
been
that.
shortened to Fit in.
You did. You could have called it. You could have called it Fit into Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are currently in San Antonio. Did you remember to go to the Alamo?
We haven't yet. We actually just got here. We've been here a day. So we haven't done that yet. We absolutely plan to. There's probably the outdoor part of it anyways. I hear the Riverwalk is pretty empty right now. So we're going to go see if that is true and kind of walk down it and see what we can enjoy. That I think while travel's different, it's also unique in a way that some of the places are pretty empty. Like when we went to White Sands, it was empty. And, White Sands is never empty. So that was kind of nice to, we were the only car parked on some of the little pullouts for the day. And that's extremely unusual in White Sands. So you got to kind of take the good with the bad and you get kind of some of these things to yourself, but you also miss a couple opportunities.
You hit the right time to go to San Antonio, though, because the Riverwalk, I've been there before, is just completely lit up for the holidays. And I know typically they have all these events and they have like river cruises that you can go up and down. I don't know if that's still happening.
No, they're not.
Yeah. I mean, that's got to be kind of sad in a way, because on one hand, like you said, places are empty, you get them to yourselves, but then you also get to see everything that you're missing out on too.
Yeah. I guess the good thing is that this is our life now. So we'll come back through. My aunt lives here. So this will not be my last stop to San Antonio. So, we'll be back through.
So after San Antonio, how do you lay out an itinerary like this to go from point A to point B? And again, there's so many unknowns right now.
Yeah.
To your point about what's open and where to go, how do you even start planning that out?
Well, we planned around weather. So we're basically, hugging the southern route as much as possible so that we can stay warm, because we have 3 small dogs to walk every few hours. The next stop here is Galveston, and that's to do some more ancestry research of some things that I found while I was packing up the house. I finally got through some of my dad's things and found some interesting ancestry, old, like from the early 1800s letters and things that led me to some discoveries that we want to dig into a little bit deeper. So we'll do that next. But as far as the unknowns, we're fortunate in that we stay at military fam camps on military bases because my husband is retired Air Force. So that gives us access that I at least feel a lot safer on right now too, because it's a very controlled atmosphere. On all the bases we've been on, everybody has been very conscientious about wearing masks, about cleanliness, everything. So I feel even better than I would in an RV park for that reason. So that kind of eliminates part of the unknown. But other than that, it's just kind of, we have this plan. And if we need to push forward and get to the Florida area sooner, then we'll do that. If we decide to stay longer, we'll stay longer. So we're contained in our RV. So the only real problem is, everybody else that's hoarded food, there's no place to hoard food in an RV. So
Yeah.
food or toilet paper, you're not hoarding anything. So we're out shopping every couple days, but other than that, we're contained in our RV. So
This is Wander to the Edge, and our guest today is Angela DiLoreto. You can find out more information about her, get to know her, follow along in these wonderful travels, fittinginadventure.com. Fittinginadventure.com. Also on Instagram and on Twitter as Fit in Adventure. So get to know her. You just mentioned these letters. All right. This is that other side of you that we knew getting into this interview. We're going to have to dig into this a little bit more because you have a very interesting family history, in particular as it ties to early U.S. history and
right.
perhaps big moments in our history, and some of it is super interesting. So let's take them one at a time. Let's start with Culper spy ring.
Okay. Now I forget how many greats back that is, but people can figure out the generational for greats back. My ancestor was close to the King of England, and then immediately after the war was named colonel by George Washington himself. And so there's a couple of members of the Culper spy ring who have never been named. And it appears from some of the things I found that it is my ancestor. I still have a lot of research to do. The boxes are safely tucked into a into a temperature controlled unit in Florida until I get there and can go through everything and get them to historians to verify and everything. But that's as it appears right now. And then his grandson what led the militia in the Battle of New Orleans. And so there's letters between his name is Thomas Jefferson Beale and Andrew Jackson in the Library of Congress that you can pull up and read just on the archives there even. And I didn't know about this either. And then as I was digging too, there started to be all these newspaper clippings about the treasure that he supposedly hid. And that's worth absolutely millions at this point. It's still supposedly in the woods in Virginia and things like that. And it was found out west and taken there, and then this cipher was left with this innkeeper, and it's basically the story that the National Treasure movie was based on. And I'm like, what is this? And how
and you,
like I'd
and you
heard
found this in
in
these,
my dad's
it was
stuff.
really these letters that began this awareness or connecting some of the dots. Okay. That
Right.
it sounds like we should make a movie about you finding these letters.
Yeah, for real. And had your family ever mentioned this to you before? Or, I mean, this was...
It's weird because I have a distant cousin who had done a lot of research and has uncovered a lot. And there'd always been mentioned that there was this treasure, and like people kind of talked about the guy that supposedly hid it, kind of like a black sheep. And they'd say more about his service in the Battle of New Orleans than anything else, but never mentioned that he actually led one of the militias and was a pretty big part of the battle. And it was an entire odd situation. But I think that he was considered kind of the black sheep because he like owned the gambling hall in New Orleans, and like that was not my family. So so I think that he was kind of a black sheep that way. He actually left Virginia when he had a dispute and had a duel and shot a man, and it was the duel was over a woman, and it was the explorer William Clark's wife. The duel was over. So
Wow.
I'm kind of seeing why he was considered kind of the black sheep, but it is funny because like I just started finding this stuff and I'm like, why is this here? And then it come to find out, in August we took most of our stuff that we were keeping to Florida and put it in storage, and we were on the way back and decided to stretch our legs there in Winslow, Arizona, to standing on the corner thing. And my husband turns around and sees a mention of an Edward F. Beale, and he's like, well, he's probably related to you too. And so I get in the car and I start searching and getting into all the ancestry things and everything, and I'm like, well, what do you know? He is. And he like it was on camels at the time, but led the path west that later became Route 66, and had a big part in the Mexican-American War with Kit Carson, and carried the first lump of I think the neatest letter is actually, I found it in the archives of the Library of Congress, but it's from P.T. Barnum, because Edward, they called him Ned, would carry the first lump of gold from California back east to show that started the California gold rush. And P.T. Barnum was wanting to buy this lump of gold from him. So I thought that was interesting too. So.
Okay, Angela. I think especially that's all very fascinating, but especially the tie to Route 66. I think you need to explore that one, because for the travel tribe, that's a pretty big deal. Route 66.
Right.
I mean, I hope one day to be able to travel the entire Route 66. Okay, I think it's probably on my bucket list. But I've been in Chicago, I've been in Tulsa, I've been in California, I've been in these different places along Route 66, and it's a piece of our culture, it's a piece of our history, and so that's a fascinating tie, not just for the American history side, but also the travel tribe side of all of us that love that so much.
Yes.
Little known fact is that
okay.
when I lived in Illinois, I lived in Plainfield, and Route 66 actually cut right through our town. It was our main street, was Route 66. Yeah.
Awesome. I do plan to write it all up in a book. We're doing the research now, and meeting with a lot of people that know more in New Orleans and things like that. And like Pirate Jean Lafitte is involved in this whole thing, and it's been pretty interesting, because it was interesting enough already, and then you throw some pirates in there, it gets better, right?
Aye.
So I am writing a book, so it'll be out. I don't know when.
By hook or by crook. Okay. What's another pirate reference? But
yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about this other part of your travel team. Let's talk about that adorable pup. I think we can see her back there, right?
This one's Loki. Oh, he's
Aw.
not going to be happy that I got him up. He's not very friendly to other people. They're all rescue dogs, but he was pretty abused. So he's very loving to my husband and I, but not much to anybody else.
So who all is in this RV with you then? Like what is this looking like as you're traveling down the road?
Well, as we're traveling down the road is a little different, because we have our other car that I drive, and then my husband tows the travel trailer. So I take two of the dogs and he takes another dog as we're traveling down the road. And when we get stopped, we're all together, and there's 3 small dogs and my husband and myself.
And how are the dogs feeling about this travel?
They love it.
Yeah.
They love it. Yeah, they figured out the travel days, and at least the one that he takes is a little bit more high strung, but the two that I take, is this one and my Gracie that everybody who follows anything on social media has seen 100 times.
Yeah.
And they both just get in their little spots in the car, and they have their little car seats, and they just lay in there and sleep the whole time. And they know they get a ton of new sniffs wherever we stop, so they're
Yeah.
happy.
See, I have a big dog, and Molly, she's very, very active. For her to try and stay in the car for more than half an hour is just not going to work. I mean, I would love to
Yeah.
travel with her, and she loves to explore. We brought her to Big Bear, and she's gone hiking with us and all that other kind of stuff, but she hates the car. You know, we got to find some sort of trick to travel with her.
Well,
So,
we use CBD treats on the hyper one to knock her out.
got it.
But
Okay.
the other two, and when you're in an RV, there's kind of an RV time warp with travel and road travel in an RV. So the rule of thumb is, I'm just going to put him back up here on his Sherpa mound. The rule of thumb for RV travel is no more than 2 hours of a drive, basically. And so we broke that a little bit, but you're not taking where if you're in a car, you might go 8 hours even between stops. This you're going much shorter. Yeah, that's
Oh,
crazy.
she's so cute.
Angela, I know you've referred to this as a never-ending road trip.
hmm
Uh, do you, tell me why do you think of it that way? What's the overall time frame for this?
There isn't. I mean, we are buying the home base, and there will be times that we pause at our home base, but we're buying a much smaller house. It's not going to be go there for months at a time. It's always going to be some sort of adventure. It might be a close by one. You know, we might be headed down to the Florida Keys for a couple weeks, or somewhere closer there in Florida. But we'll always have a portion of ourselves of our time on the road.
Your favorite part, though? I mean, obviously, this is a dream. This is a dream. I can think of a lot of things that would be amazing about getting to spend your days and traveling and seeing. And I know you guys also you have busy lives, and I know you've got your the work life too that you're attending to.
hmm
But as you think about this opportunity that you have worked so hard for, that you fought for, that now you have, what's the best part about it?
I think the time. I was thinking about this on the drive to San Antonio. The time that we all have, but you appreciate more. You know, like I said, there's adventures in your own backyard, regardless of where you live. There's a sunrise and sunset in your own backyard, regardless of where you live too. But I find myself ensuring I appreciate those more. I find myself going outside and enjoying those more. And that side of things, it kind of forces you into yourself and finding those things and enjoying those things more so than when you're in one static location, I think. It's too easy to get comfortable in a static location and start taking all of that for granted. Vegas has some gorgeous sunsets. I didn't take enough of them. You know, I didn't bother to go outside, and my backyard even had the view directly of the sunset. You know, I didn't take time to go outside and enjoy that as much as I should have. But here on the road, we're always outside for the sunset and sunrise. We use the Helios app, and it gives me a notification on my phone that I'm busy riding or working. That notification goes off, and everything stops, and I go out for the sunrise and sunset.
What is the app called?
Helios,
Helios. Okay.
yeah,
I'll have to
it's
check
great.
that out.
I think it was like $2, but I mean,
Okay.
virtually nothing. But it gives you a notification for wherever you're at, and you can set it to notify you for blue hour, golden hour, and sunrise and sunset. And
Wow.
it's right on with getting you out there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my favorite thing about just moving out here is our backyard. We have an amazing view of the sunset
Yes, you
and just
do.
trying to make a point. Yeah. To go out there every day, you know, it's kind of a ritual. You go out there
hmm
with my dog and usually my oldest daughter and just capture that sunset and just take a break and
Yeah,
pause and reflect. It's really been a nice ritual, I think, that everybody, to your point, everybody can do.
right.
So, yeah.
Okay, Angela, thank you for joining us today. We've got lots of wonderful, fun things to talk about here, but there's also a side of things that's a little bit more serious. And I mean, we don't have to dwell on it, but I know there's some moments of sadness in your past, and
Mhm.
I know also you turned those moments into something positive for the rest of us. So, some positive changes were made as a result of some of these more sad experiences and tragic in experiences.
Mhm.
Tell me, tell me about that. Tell me about Jody.
Jody was my neighbor growing up, and I babysat her and her sister when they were young, and then her and her sister babysat my daughter when she was young. In January of 2007, Jody was the victim of a stalker. The man, I use that word loosely, who was stalking almost 20 other women at the same time. But one Friday afternoon, he took Jody and murdered her. The police knew he was a problem. They were unable to put a stop to him, even though they knew he was stalking all these women. They were unable to put a stop to him because of the way the laws were written at the time. And so, in Jody's honor, I lobbied for legislative change in several states to kind of tighten up those laws to allow them to arrest people before it ends in a murder, because stalking so often does. I think the current statistics are 1 in 4 women will be stalked at some point in their life. And in speaking with thousands of stalking victims over the last few years, I can tell you the male stalkers are never as dangerous as the female stalkers. Some of the male victims I've heard from have woke up to the woman in bed next to them in their home, following them all across country and things like that. So probably gonna get some hate comments on that on comparing those, but it's true that we don't pay attention enough to the male victims of this crime either, and they are just as much a victim as the female victims, and there's a lot of female victims too. But I didn't want Jody's murder to end with what a monster decided to do that one Friday afternoon. She meant way more to this world than how he decided that he was going to spend that day. He made all the choices that day. No one else had to make any of the choices that day. Um, and she was much more to this world than that.
Yes. Um, I mean, my first thing I think of though is what a wonderful determination you made to do something, right? And it's just such a, I mean, when
I don't
something
even
like
think it
that
was a
happens,
determination as much as it was just, this never should have happened and it can't happen again. I guess that is a determination, but like it was never a thought process of, I'm going to do this. It was just, it can't. This has to happen. This can't be allowed to continue. So I don't know what that word would really be, but
Anger.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
anger. It was
Yeah.
a lot of anger. And he is in Kansas now. He does have an appeal to his death sentence, but he's in prison. He's been in prison since hours after death.
Well, I just want to personally thank you. I mean, to make that type of change in the world and to have Jody's Law enacted and passed, I mean, you're literally saving lives, both men and
She's
women.
saving lives.
Yeah.
I was just a vehicle.
But just thank you for that. I personally have a girlfriend who had a stalker and had to use that right, or to invoke that.
Hmm.
And even with that, like, it's tragic that
It
anyone has
is.
to go through that today and have that sense of fear. And I
Yeah.
think again, your spirit, both in following your dream, not letting anything stop you, making it a better world, seeing the world for what it is. I mean, you're just really an inspiration, Angela.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I can tell we're talking to Angela and we're trying to give her some credit for something, and she won't take it.
Yeah.
She will not take the credit. I get it,
It's not me.
I know. Well, I appreciate that about you. But from the outside, knowing, again, this is us talking. You don't have to say this about yourself, but so many people, and it's so easy in life to see something and know something could be done, and then to still not do anything about it.
Yeah.
And to know that you chose to do something and to fight for something in her memory and in her honor is, of course, admirable, and yet very tragic and very sad, and in that it's not the kind of, I mean, something good came of this, but it is not good. What happened is not
No.
good. And along those lines, I mean, just talking about stalking, and then a day and age where social media makes cyber stalking possible, maybe, that didn't used to exist in that sense, and then now it can and does. And sometimes it stops at cyber stalking, sometimes it becomes something deeper and more concerning and more dangerous. And so I think that's an important fight, an important thing, protection to be concerned about, and to be engaged in. And I think all of us, in a day and age where we're meeting new people, and the travel tribe, and all these wonderful opportunities we have to grow our list of friends and people that we know. And that's why we do this program, and it's fun and it's positive. But we must all be careful who we
Yes.
choose to trust. And sometimes stalking happens. It's not it has nothing to do with any trust that was given or not.
Mhm.
But I know sometimes the door to the stalking gets opened,
Yeah.
and it gets opened because someone trusted, or because someone believed the best about somebody. And I prefer to believe the best of people, and I know that's a good thing. But I'm just, hey, along to sort of wrap up the thought here. Be careful, ladies.
Mhm.
Be careful, guys. Be careful who you trust, and that's
And what you
probably
post.
and what you
Because
post.
that's
Yeah.
yes, because I hear from a lot of people that, you know, they post too much stuff that all put together, it creates a timeline of where they live. It create, or that every Friday during normal times they're at this happy hour and things like that. And people don't think about what the timeline of what they post is really putting out there for somebody that does get so obsessed that they decide to put that together. So be careful what you post too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, go ahead, Adam.
No, please go ahead. If you have something else on that topic, we'll wrap that up and then move. We had to go there. I mean, I know this is a fun, lighthearted show, and it has a purpose. It has a purpose. It's fun, and it's engaging, and it's travel. But this is something about Angela's history that we had to talk about.
Yeah.
And it's also very applicable. I mean, it's a kind of a sad thing, and it's disturbing that we even have to worry about it, but we do, and so we had to talk about it. But anyway, Zan, I don't know if anything else on that topic, but just
Basically, what I was going to say is, the forum of the show is to explore travel stories and stories of our lives, but it's also to look out for one another. So,
Mhm.
thank you for that opportunity to just give us that reminder.
Thank you.
so, Angela, you probably already said this. Where are you headed? You said you're in San Antonio now. I think you said you're
In
headed to
Galveston,
Galveston,
yeah,
and then
New
you're going to work
Orleans,
your way in which direction?
New Orleans, and on to Florida.
And you planned it thinking about the weather,
Yes, I do not like cold weather.
and then you'll
Go
probably
figure. I
work,
lived in Vegas,
Yeah.
and you'll probably try to hit some of the more northern states during the summer, I'm guessing.
Yes, yes.
And then why
Hopefully once we're
Alaska?
normal.
Yeah. So knowing that, why Alaska? Why is that kind of one of your ultimate goals?
We went to Alaska a couple years ago and I just fell in love. If you have not been to Alaska, you need to go to Alaska. It doesn't even matter how cold it is there. It's just beautiful. There's truly nowhere I've ever been like it. It just it's a magical place. So I just had to plan it to where we could spend more time there.
Got it. Well, we cannot wait to see the rest of your adventures. We can't wait to follow along on this amazing trip that you have planned. Like I said, I'm living vicariously through you. I'm going to try and figure out how I can replicate all this one day.
And we can meet
So,
on the road.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yes, Angela, right now, fantastic journey that you're on, and we want to invite everybody to participate in that and follow along. But I know you've traveled to many locations around the world, and there's much more to discover about your platform, the places you've been, and the way you've shared it. So we are going to encourage everyone to get to know Angela DiLoreto a bit more. You can go to her website, fittinginadventure.com, fittinginadventure.com, or look up that platform on Twitter or Instagram. And that in particular is this new journey that she's on. But you can also find her at Angela M. DiLoreto on Instagram, Twitter. You'll find her both of those locations. And a lot of great pictures, a lot of great stories.
Thank you.
And I hope you'll do that as you connect with her. If you haven't already, connect with her, get to know her better. And we'll be watching this next phase of your life. What a wonderful opportunity you have. What a great country you are having the privilege of exploring and getting to know. And as we, hopefully in 2021, as we pull free from the life and the restrictions and the limitations we've had in 2020, I think it'll be a fantastic journey and adventure for you.
Yes. I'm looking
Well, I
forward
think
to that.
in 2021, you've helped me set some new resolutions to get this plan on board, as well as to go back deeper and explore my own family history. Who knows?
Okay.
All right, ladies. Well, thank you so much for your time. Another beautiful Saturday, and we're turning the page. This is the last Saturday of 2020, and isn't it? Right? Yes, this is it. Yeah. Okay. Thinking about the calendar. Last episode of 2020 for 2020, and we hope you'll join us again next week. Got a great episode to start the year off. So lots of great guests here on the program, and next week will be no exception. So Angela, thank you so much. God bless you. Stay safe, and we look
Thank
forward
you.
to watching your adventures and getting to know you more in the next few months and years.
Thank you.
San, this is your cue because I can't hit this button until you tell everybody what the name of the show is. And so you're on. Go. No pressure.
Wander to the Edge.